Hello and welcome back to G Brands. We are back in Australia and today we're joined by former Wallaby Justin Harrison. How are you, mate?
Very former, good. Yeah, I've made an effort for you blokes today.
You have.
I hope you noticed.
Pocket sleeve.
Done my hair.
You got a watch on.
Clean my teeth.
Yeah.
If the watch comes off, you know it's going on.
I know exactly what taking the watch off means. Good. Don't you worry about that.
That was back in the day, right?
It was back in the day, yeah.
So was that an Australian thing as well? Like in New Zealand, when I was in my really bad period of being a bit of a naughty youth.
Did you have
if
a
you're
bad
going
period?
to get into a fight, that was the one thing that the boys would go, right, give him your watch, you take your watch off, and then you'd get on with it.
Yeah, it was very ceremonial, right? So watch off, hold on. I was watch and dental, so I had a mouth guard. I used to go with a mouth guard.
Carry the mouth guard around your pocket.
Yeah.
Like
I won probably 20% of my fights without throwing a punch because I took my watch off and then I put a mouth guard in.
People go, this guy's
did that. And I'm like, well, I'm not sure how to. Yeah, it's okay. He's walked away at work.
Can I just ask you a quick question while we've got you here? Did you eye-gouge Justin Marshall?
Well, the footage is not clear. It's been reviewed several times, and this is probably an indication of how highly regarded Marshy is by his teammates. Because if you look at the footage, it's actually his own teammate that gives him a shot, and I just happened to be close enough to be blamed because you didn't want to admit that your teammates were actually putting shots on you as well in that test.
That's probably right.
Can we set the scene?
No, the scene is easy to set.
He looked like Popeye at the end of the test match. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and like to be fair, I did make the comment somewhere that I felt that I'd been eye gouged and I couldn't see out of one eye, and people basically just said I had no vision in the game anyway. So it didn't really change. Didn't really change the way I played. But it was all from a couple of weeks before. That's where it started, and that's where I suspect that he was still holding a grudge because he's a grudge holder. JP,
100%. I lived with him.
He's filthy. Like literally, if somebody gets the better of him somewhere, at some stage or another, he'll bank it and he'll get them back.
So that's
Angriest
what we're talking
man.
about something that happened to you.
No, we're talking about
years ago.
something that happened. Yeah, yeah, right. But you'll remember it.
Carry on.
You know, this is the funny thing, eh?
There's a lot of pointing coming across.
I'm sorry about that. We went out of Wellington and had coffees during the week. Me, you, and Griggs. The watches, both watches are coming off. That's it, right? And it was the first time we'd kind of had a bit of a social get together. But then that test match at the weekend was that one where Brendan Cannon grabbed a hold of Kevi Mealamu.
Well, he didn't get hold of him. He just slotted him, didn't he?
Yeah.
Overhand right at the breakdown, and then you.
I was right.
move.
No, listen, I was right there, and his face.
Hairdresser mate Carlos Spencer jumped in there to throw some little rabbit punch cheap shots in his ribs.
So here we go.
So I see that and come over and remind you that there are other people on the field, don't I? Justin?
You do remind me of that, but the words that you used were, "I'm going to get you," because the best thing for me was Brendan Cannon. He absolutely good punch. To be fair, got Kevin Mealamu square on the nose, and his nose just went.
It was like Rocky Balboa shot.
Yeah.
Sweat and everything came off. There should have been music and slow-mo. It was insane. And Mealamu just looked at him and smiled.
But his nose was
his nose. I mean, you couldn't see his whole face because his nose was now ear to ear, but it was...
And so then the thing was, all the All Black forwards and everybody sort of grabbed a hold of Brendan Cannon because it was he had a bit of a cheap shot.
Mm.
So when obviously they grabbed a hold of him and he was pinned down, that's when I thought it was a good opportunity to punch him. Yeah, and then Carlos came from 10 metres away and he got involved as well. Yeah.
Yeah, he could throw him.
What are you saying about me?
Well, mate, I think in the terms of ordering and hierarchy of people I'm most concerned about when a fight breaks out, you're behind car park attendant.
Mate, you're just in front of Mertz. I remember when Mertz, mate, I remember when the fight broke out and Mertz come running over, and right at the end it all settled down. He goes, "Oh, you're so lucky I didn't start fucking throwing him like this." And it was like everyone started laughing, and he actually settled down the actual occasion. But mate, I actually think the story's a little bit more in depth here with Eddie Jones as well, because he got involved in this whole eye gouging.
He got involved in the eye gouging after the allegation, yes, of it after the test match. But the way that it then progressed from Wellington was obviously we had words because he accused me then of having a cheap shot. And I thought, well, that's a bit rich because your player's just cheap shot at ours. And he deserves one on the nose for doing that.
Yeah.
Anyway, he said, well, and then I sort of, I bantered him because I was standing behind my All Black forward pack and said, well, come and get some, mate. Do you know what I mean? Like, come on. And obviously he couldn't get to me in that game, but 2 weeks later,
it wasn't on the field. You were showered and booted on the bus heading off, and you're in the back window going, as the bus headed off out of the stadium.
Yes.
So, mate, did you eye-gouge him or not? Like, what happened?
No. 2 weeks later.
No.
Yeah, 2 weeks later. What happened?
Yeah, 2 weeks later.
I would never eye gouge or do that sort of thuggery on the field.
Bullshit.
I backed you. I said no as well.
Yeah, no, look, who knows? Like, at the end of the day, it was a good talking point that we can now sort of have a bit of fun and banter over. But
and you lost.
And we lost. I mean, I was filthy about that as well. That was when Tatakefu scored in the last, man, that pissed me off. I was underneath him as well, like literally. He ran through a couple of players and I was like, he fell on me. Basically, and then I put my arm out and his arm went over top of me.
Did you ever find yourself on top of a tackle situation? Were you ever a dominant
tackler?
Yeah, I don't think you were.
No, I was an absorber. Absorbing tackles.
Cheap sodding.
Yeah.
Mud skipper.
Exactly. We've got the Bledisloe coming up this weekend, so we'll get into some Bledisloe stories as well. Get some more Bledisloe stories,
For
but
sure.
We're going to dig into Justin's process of how he got to play international rugby. But before that, just quickly, because this actually segues on the next time you guys actually met after this incident was the Lions, wasn't it? Oh, not the Lions, the Barbarians.
No. Oh, we did.
We did meet at the Barbarians,
didn't we? What a week!
I think London's still recovering,
isn't it?
I certainly am.
Oh, how good is the Barbarians?
Yeah, look, I think Barbarians, again, if you talk to any player that's been involved in the Barbarians or is aspirationally wanting to be involved, we always get a bit misty-eyed and nostalgic about it because it is probably one of the few remaining direct links back to the times when you got together and experienced what it was to be a part of a global rugby family. And you really had as much fun on and as you did off. You had a great intent to play a style of rugby as well, which is lost on a lot of people now. You know, style of play and themes of play and principles of play have a big bearing on what's delivered on the field. Players are ultimately pretty good at doing what they're told or what they think they agree on is going to work for them. And the Barbarians is a perfect example of how rugby can be played if you make a conscious effort to play a certain style. So, let's get a little bit serious for a minute. When we talk about the game has to be faster, otherwise it's broken. Well, does it? Or do we need to just have a bit of a frontal lobotomy, stop getting coached to play for penalties and static moments in the game and start to incorporate a bit of the Barbarians attitude into every game played on the field?
We talked about that in a previous podcast, didn't we? About players potentially being overcoached in the Christian Cullen episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we did. Yeah, like what he's basically describing is exactly what rugby in general is all about. It's not overthought. It's just club rugby, anything that involves the game that's kind of down from that professional era. It's not overanalyzed. You just go out and do what you do. And that's kind of the Barbarians attitude, which is great, like it also does. We're talking about pros who go out and play for the Barbarians, and it kind of makes preparation a bit of a myth. Because the preparation is horrendous. Yes. Like, I even went out on a Friday night before a Saturday afternoon game at Twickenham when we were playing England. Yeah. And I remember Xavier Rush was my roommate. So, and I was like...
I think the story is, Marshy, not so much when you went out, it's when you got home.
Yeah, that's very
When did you arrive home?
Saturday, I got home
Saturday
about
morning.
1 in the morning.
Yeah, well...
Before a game against England.
Yeah, well...
Plenty.
Well, I was no good, though. I remember rolling over and looking at Xavier Rush, and he wasn't looking much better than me. And I said, I can't do this today, mate. I can't. Honestly, it's been 5 days, relentlessness. What were we thinking last night, And
so we all know that's 4 o'clock in the morning.
On the waters, yeah.
Like, come on. You're not even touching the surface at 1 a.m.
Moving on.
Well, that's I remember that week. So you get the cash envelope, right?
My God.
You get a payment, you get the salmons, 50s. It took me a while to realise that other players were obviously getting a lot more than me, or probably, or a bit more frugal with the expenditure when they got their hands on that. Because mine was empty by Tuesday night. We got it Sunday night. I'm done. And then I realised, and then there's a contingent of South African players in there. They've all put it in their room safe. They're all taking it home. They've all got full envelopes to get back on the plane with. And I'm asking blokes to spot me.
So you were genius, though. Like, honestly, you had these salmons, and it was like they were just sliding off your hand. I remember going into this bar.
I've never seen so many 50s in my life, and I think I lost track of my brain, and I thought, okay, this is Monopoly money. It's not real. Let me just fan it out everywhere.
You were generous, over generous that night.
Oh,
I remember you being up at the bar. And like literally had a crowd of people around you, like
Just
one of the
randoms.
Hangover movies where you're Mr. Popular rolling out the dice, and this massive big bottle of vodka comes out, and it's got these fireworks and cracker, sparklers and all that coming out of it, and you're like this, and you're like
Dumb and Dumber. There you go. There you go. Small mortgage to buy a bottle of vodka, but Harrison's in. I'm all in, boys.
Oh, let's wind the clock right back. So you grew up in the Northern Territory?
Brought up in the Northern Territory. I was born in Sydney, but my parents moved up there pretty soon after. Dad was a teacher and Mum was a nurse. So I was the sport of staying alive was pretty much what I occupied myself until I was 16 up there.
Can you you paint us a picture of what that was like actually in the Northern Territories at that age? Like, how rural are we talking? How basic are we talking?
We lived in Darwin for 2 years. That was the most populated place we lived in. It had power and electricity. That was a big win, and hot water. Owen Pelly, Yuendamu, just north of Alice Springs, Catherine and Bamuli, Barunga, very small Aboriginal settlements, outposts tasked with engaging First Nation and Indigenous people and setting up education programs and health services. And I had correspondents sent from Victoria to do schoolwork, and there was a bit of school of the air as well, which is quite convenient. You could just turn it off and not do it. Which is clearly my education level now is shining through. Lack of ability to produce anything more than 2 syllables is in trouble. But looking back now, I had the world's biggest backyard, and it was Australia's a frontier country, and you don't get much more frontier than that. No. I had an ability to understand and connect with, a part of our heritage that is under examination consistently now. Part of the Warlpiri tribe, had a skin name, Jagamara. It was quite unique and very, very fortunate for me to have that exposure. Things like, swimming carnivals were in wet season because the gravel pit would be full of water and we'd have a swimming carnival in that gravel pit.
What?
Yeah, stuff like that. It was pretty cool.
Like kind of at a quarry situation.
At a quarry situation and, flood time, you'd all jump in the bathtub and head down to the river and, that was our raft for the day. Or we'd play whatever sport we played was whoever had a functional ball that was inflated at that time. So sometimes it was AFL, someone had a soccer ball, we'd play a bit of that. I just watched because they were freaks like that. Amazing talent in rural Australia. And then I cottoned on early that I was probably a bit better resource than most. I was the only player from time to time in teams that had boots. And so I soon established that it's probably more beneficial for me to rent my boots out. So I'd rent my right boot to one person and my left boot to another, $5 a game, $10. Because if my left boot was left, whoever rented it would be left-footed for the day. And then the right foot was the right foot. And I'd just harass. Dad was going mad on the sideline. I just bought you the boots and now you're not even wearing them and you're not even doing anything. I was like, mate, I got $10 out of the game. I'm ahead.
Respect.
I was actually thinking, mate, that at the end of the day, if you're the only guy with boots, that's back in the day because we are old enough. Can tell that by your anyway. That's the rucking. That's rucking days.
Well, that's if we were
you could have been
rugby,
the only kid being able to ruck.
Rugby wasn't even on my horizon. We played soccer. I had soccer boots for a period of time, and then we moved away, and there was no soccer field, so we didn't. There was a bit Aussie rules. But university was when I first sort of tripped my way into rugby.
Is that when your old man told you you need to make some friends?
That's Thanks for taking the punchline.
Moving on to the next story.
That's that one done. Volkswagen Type 3 Volkswagen. It's sort of mattress on top. And before I put it in first gear and headed off, he said, "Son, you should, that's me. You should play rugby. You might see the world, and you might get some mates." Because you've got none now. They'll be obligated to talk to you at least. So armed with that, I went to university thinking, right, I'll have a swing at this thing called rugby. accelerated my decision when I saw that there was a sign that said free keg of beer for anyone that signs up tonight. So that was me right in my sweet spot. And the Gold Rats at Lismore, God love them. That was it. First game of rugby. First coach was actually Darren Coleman, who was the first grade player, 21 years old, helping out with the Colts team. So Darren Coleman was my first coach, and that was
What
one year,
position?
1993.
Were you always a lock?
What do you think, mate?
No, well, mate, I get sick of these forwards that always come on and say, I used to play first five, or I used to play wing and whatever. Then I moved into the front row. It's like, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Were you always...
No, I was...
Did you start off as a 10?
Well, let me just give you a description of what my physical appearance was, Marshy, and I'll let you make up the rest. I looked exactly the same as I look now in terms of facial
beauty,
attraction.
Mm-hmm.
I was 6'8" and I was 91 kilos. So the human broomstick with an attitude and a mouth guard and a big nose.
Yeah, and obviously you weren't wearing a watch when you were playing either.
Yeah, well, mate, it was clear. It was modelling or rugby. You know, I had to make a choice very early.
For sure.
Rugby's the benefit.
Well, gladly you made the decision with rugby. Then down to the nation's capital, down to Canberra. Go to do your studies further, and then you start playing with the Vikings, I believe, down there.
Yeah, Canberra Vikings. A bloke called Chris Hickey called me up in the off-season. So this is the sort of effect that rugby had on my educational prowess. So first four, I did marine biology at Lismore University. I was going to save the Great Barrier Reef. Coral bleaching was a thing back then, still is. Probably because I didn't continue and save it. But I thought, right, I'm just going to hang out on the beach, go fishing for a bit, cut around in some Speedos, and that's about it, right? That's marine biology in a nutshell. So I'll have a piece of that. And it was the only university that accepted me in Australia. And so first four subjects, I got 2 credits, a pass, and a distinction. You're welcome. Then rugby season, 4 fails. So I was bereft of options. Dad gave me a pretty agitated phone call. What is going on? We've just got the results in the mail. You've got some explaining to do. So in amongst that panic, I got a phone call from Chris Hickey. He said, mate, I've just had 2 weeks with the Australian Under-21 squad down in Canberra. Now, this is 1994 now, December 1993, heading into 4. I reckon if you come down here and lean in, you might be a chance.
Really?
No promises. And I've just picked up a coaching position with Canberra Vikings. They're a well-resourced club. They'll give you a house, they'll help you with rent, and they'll throw you into a job.
But at this stage, you're not thinking...
Year, I'm 19 years old.
You're not thinking rugby's a career at this point, eh?
It's not professional
True.
either. So, no, we're not. But we're thinking, okay, there's the concept of boot money, and you get a leg up, and I was going to work in the cellar, and I arrived. First bloke I met who, there's another bloke just started. He's a pretty good Canberra player. You know, not sure how he's going to go. He's going to work in the cellar with you as well. So I walk down. Joe Roff sticks his mid out.
Average player.
Yeah. A week later, we're in there on the squirt with our master key to the cellar, and he's saying, I just want to make Australian under-19s. I was like, good man, I just want to get an AIS scholarship. I think that year he made every Australian team possible.
Yes.
Harrison just scrapped into the scholarship. So both of us won. And many would say I was probably the better achiever. I mean, he was naturally gifted. I had to really achieve. It was easy for him. And so, 94, I found myself down there. I jagged a scholarship. A year later, found myself in the Australian 21s team.
Your debut for the Wallabies. Let's go.
Yeah, how cool. So we get to Thursday of the British and Irish Lions third test week. I'd been in the squad for 4 weeks training and playing straight away. We'd beaten the British and Irish Lions in Gosford. You're welcome. Thanks very much. First time they'd lost on tour. And they've named the team, and I'm not in the team. I'm roomed with Bill Young. And so we're packing our bags, ready to go, and the phone rings. Landline. Back in the day, you've got landlines. Rod McQueen on the end of the line. I know that because he says it's Rod McQueen. I'm not clairvoyant. But he says that. Good, Justin, I've got something really important to talk to you. Where are you? I'm in the hotel room, chair. I'm in my hotel room, so he comes down. Youngie's on the on the bed there in his wife fronts, watching Oprah or something. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, right? And so he sits down, leans forward, starts into this spiel about how popular I've been in the squad. You know, you've been a really good thing. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, yeah, I haven't managed to injure David Giffen or Johnny Eels, right? So I'm like, I'm a bit disappointed. And he says, we've got a really important job for you. The management are unanimous. We think it's going to be great for you. Great experience Saturday night. I'm thinking, fuck, this is a chat. And I lean forward a bit and he says, we want you to be the water boy on Saturday night. Yeah. You know, peripherally, I noticed Youngie pissing himself laughing in the corner. Oprah's on and I'm like, first time I'm going to take the field with the Wallabies, this is a water boy. No, I wanted to slap his nose off, but I was like, okay, thanks very much, sir. I'll do a good job. And he says, don't get in a fight. And I go to let him out. And I open the door, David Giffin's standing there, stare off. And he says, oh, good. Congratulations. I want to be the first to tell you, mate, well done. You're going to start for the Wallabies against British Irish Lions with Eelsy on Saturday night. I said, mate, that is a shit joke because Rob McQueen's just behind me. He's just told me I'm the water boy. Beat it. And he said, no, right, is Rod McQueen there, is he? Management have been ringing his room looking for him to tell him that I've just been ruled out with a dodgy hamstring to tell you that I'm out and you're in. I found out before Shanksy, Rob McQueen. So Rob McQueen scurries past up to the penthouse. 15 minutes, door shuts. I sit down, Youngie, Oprah. I'm like, what happened there? Don't know. And phone rings again. He knows where I am this time. Good, we've got something really important to talk to you about. Can you come up to my room? So I go up to the penthouse, cross the marble floor, kiss the ring, genuflect at the throne. Neil McKenzie's there finishing off the minibar. Last bar. And same spiel. We've got you've been a popular member of the squad, Australia. Well done. You're doing it. You're killing it. You know. And last sentence. Congratulations. Gifts out. You're in. You're going to start for the Wallabies on Saturday night. You're going to play your first test. So Thursday afternoon, I found out. Had the captain's run. And at the time, and then he says at the end, "We don't want you to tell anyone." And yeah. And so I think, at the time I thought, it's because I'm some sort of secret weapon, right? Like, you know, where coaches name the fake 15 and then they see Harrison running out in his 6XL Canterbury jersey, 102 kilos, ringing wet, praying mantis weapon. Yes. And Martin Johnson and the British Irish Lions
shitting themselves.
Shit themselves. It's all over now. We didn't factor in the goog.
The Harrison factor.
So now I know I was probably going to be targeted and be a bit of a weak link for the series. And then history, of course, tells us that I single-handedly won the series. So.
Yes. With that amazing line.
Talk about that.
Yeah, every time I see the clip, I'm just reminded of how little skill and how much luck was involved in that. Like, lots of things. Although the one thing I will know is that I had rote memory on how to read a really poor line-out throw from Jeremy Paul. So I kind of sensed that Woody, I was like, whoa, this action looks a bit familiar. I've seen this somewhere before. And so this ball comes in, wobbly-gong, wobbling all around. It's about belly button height. I didn't have to jump very high. So Michael Foley's in front of me and Rod Moore is behind me. They don't get enough credit for that, nor should they. I'm not about to give them. It's all me. Because we're into each other before the line. Oh, I'm going to jump. I'm going to have a go. And they're like, no, we can't jump. We've got to stay down. It's going to be a maul. I said, I know it's going to be a maul, but they're going to score. And it's like, this is all very quickly and breathless because I'm out of breath, clearly. And so it's sort of a half lift, half jump. Keith Wood thinks, no problem. Jono's getting it. Where it's easy. And as luck would have it, I get a mitt to it. It hits my knee, bounces back into my chest, probably hits my nose and face somewhere.
Well, that would puncture the ball.
Yeah,
game over.
Would have gone straight out. And I fall on it, and I think, oh wow, this still feels like the ball, because my eyes are closed the whole time. And come up and pretty cool feeling to be able to contribute to first test. And
that was your debut, and that won the series, right?
Yeah. Thanks for noticing.
Yeah, mate, because that was actually a big year.
The statue's still being cast, I think. But Elsie said yes, I said no.
But that was a big year, right? 2001. Like we won our first Super Rugby title because we lost the final the year before. I don't know how we still
Rolf
lost.
Just kick it out.
Oh, Sterling just
Andre Watson.
mate. Sterling.
There's no way that's a penalty. You know that too. Look at you over there. There's no way that's a penalty.
Oh, mate.
I've got my Andre Watson story, so to be fair, I'm actually with you.
I got wrong crib. No, I don't. Actually, Sterling kicked 3 from 8. I blame Sterling Mortlock. He only got 3 from 8.
Blame you. You let Rodney Cripps through.
Oh, I did. But we'll get to when you lost the World Cup in 03, when you let Matt Dawson through. But anyway, we'll talk about that. But in 01, taking the watch, we won the Super Rugby title against the Sharks. You then play your first test against the Lions, and then you go and do the unthinkable with the Bledisloe Cup with the Wallabies and go to Dunedin, where no Wallaby side had ever won there in over 100 years.
Yeah, that was so. Gift comes back into the test team because he's now no longer injured. I'm out. And so I'm playing for the Canberra Vikings in the Gold Coast. At that time, they're in the Brisbane competition. We're playing against the Gold Coast Breakers. 3:00 in the morning, we've won the game. I'm having a beer with my teammates, of which Matt Giddo was one. And so we're having a few beers. And we're watching the test match on the TV, South Africa v Australia in Pretoria. David Giffen elbows Robbie Fleck in the head at a breakdown, gets red carded. The publican turns the lights on, music down. Harrison, go home. Gift's just been sent off. You'll probably play in Bledisloe. Get home. I got cut off. Gift got cut by the publican at the Gold Coast. I'm like, oh, righto. A whole music stopped, everything. 3 a.m, no problem. And so 2 weeks later, I find myself lacing against the All Blacks in Dunedin. Jonah scores in about the first millisecond of the game. I'm thinking, oh my God, remember that? So did the haka. And around the field, they had a whole heap of school kids as well jumped up halfway through it. So there was this massive full court press on this haka that's getting punched out. I'm thinking, oh my God. And look, it's a well-told story, but it's certainly Greg's. I said to Greg's, mate, this haka thing, what is it? Well, listen, just find someone in the crowd or in the team that you think you're probably physically going to be able to get over and just concentrate on them.
So you picked out someone in the crowd then?
Well, not the crowd, but I had to. Water boy.
Physio.
Looking at me.
They'll physio standing in the bag shit himself. Looking at me.
Team doctor, you're getting it if I get a chance. If you catch this kick off, I'm right into you.
Next week.
So I'm like, Tane Randall, no. Anton Oliver, no. I think Brooke was playing. Robin, no. Jonah Lomu, definitely not. And then I get Mertz in my sights, little schoolboy doing a Milli Vanilli down the back. I think he's jumper weighed more than what I weighed. So yeah, that got me through that. And then we jagged it. We won. Troy Flavel was playing as well. Big Normie Maxwell, good side. We were just better, champ.
Extricate those sorts of games from my memory.
I should have retired after that. Absolutely should have retired. Like British and Irish Lions, Bledisloe.
2 from 2.
Doesn't get any better than that. Rest is downhill. In fact, a lot of people, the 3 people that I talked to and recognised me as something that used to play. So, what happened after that Lions test? Like, what did you do after that? I was like, man, that was my debut. I played for another 4 years. I played pro rugby for another 16. Oh, right. Okay. We didn't know that.
Boys, obviously the Bledisloe's coming up this weekend, and Goog's actually are you the only person with a positive win-loss against the All Blacks? You've got a positive win-loss against the All Blacks though, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, that's all about timing, isn't it? Right?
Yeah.
I was in a very small window of success basically around other teammates. But yes, I do have a positive win-loss record against the All Blacks.
Which is?
I think it's, 4 from 6. 4 from 6.
Incredible.
Stats.
4 from 6.
2 Bledisloes.
4 from 6.
Semi-final in 03. Champ.
Yep. Semi-final in 03.
Oh,
Have you got a favourite moment from those wins?
all of them.
Yeah, any win.
Any win against. No, what? Favourite moment. Oh, look, the sense of achievement, really. So Bledisloe's pretty big. Like, and I know it's been a
is
long
it still
time.
big for the
Yes,
Wallabies?
it is,
'Cause-
mate.
Of
Are you joking?
Yeah.
It'll be a national holiday when we get that back.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. It is. It's still. And now I don't know. I'd be interested what you think about the pulse check on the regard for Bledisloe now with the All Blacks, right? It still seems to have some kudos and probably fear of losing now, but it was so long
to a degree.
But it's still,
it's probably the most sought after trophy for
Lord
us.
Bledisloe.
Like World Cup's obviously World Cup, but the tradition of the Bledisloe, like you always heard that side, that successful side of Steve Hansen, coach that won 2 back-to-back World Cups. They always targeted locking away that Bledisloe as being one of the most important things they could do in the calendar year. Yeah. So it's massive for us as well.
And state of game for us, right? You know, so I would expect that, you know, World Cup, absolutely, you got some kudos. It's a 4-year cycle, so that World Cup tag is it loses a bit of momentum, and then you turn your attention to other and most significant trophy that's more consistent, and every rugby public in the Southern Hemisphere, New Zealand and Australia, is most tactile with the Bledisloe. You know, you may or may not go to a live World Cup game, but you've most certainly at some point in your life been to a live Bledisloe match if you were some way interested in rugby. And then if you haven't, you're caught up in the groundswell of support if your national team wins that Bledisloe. So you go and check this thing out. 37 beers is how many it holds, by the way. And it's been too long since we filled it.
What's the process there? Like, who does anyone fill it?
You open a beer and you just pour it.
And it's someone's job. It's the youngest.
Really complicated stuff, you know.
It's not hard, man.
When we unlocked that, we really enjoyed the Bledisloe a lot more.
You know, I was the youngest in '98 when we won 3-0. Only twice that ever happened in 120 years, but I actually poured two slabs of beer into it, and it literally only came up to about maybe nearly a third of the Bledisloe.
It's a decent, and the other thing is it's a good looking trophy. It's a good looking cup. Yeah. You can fill it. It's robust. It can handle a bit of grief. It's quite nice to get your hands on it. You know, there's, as you said, Marshy, there's huge history and meaning. You know, you would say I would just about be happy to say if we win the Bledisloe between now and the next World Cup, we've had a pretty successful turnaround. You know, that's going to be the real sign that Australian rugby has its stuff working in the right direction.
Do you feel a bit robbed about with it now because it's basically contested over 2 test matches?
Very hard, yeah.
I think that's wrong.
It's tough to win.
Yeah,
really.
No, you got to win at least one over there, mate. You have to win.
But there's
at
only
least
2 tests. Like there used to be 3. Like you said.
I know.
So,
but if you had,
I know what you mean. You have to win in New Zealand to win it, of course.
And you should, because I think that's the pinnacle too. Like we saw in Super Rugby, man, like how much it meant just to young Australian players beating New Zealand teams, man. And then we've seen a few Super Rugby sides actually go to New Zealand and win. But yeah, look, from a playing point of view, yes, definitely used to enjoy the 3 tests.
I quite like the idea of it being settled in a 3rd test match, should it come down to that, which hasn't done for a while, but like because they have talked about it not necessarily falling in that rugby championship window, which is so hard with the calendar now, or maybe on the way over to the
old
UK
Hong Kong,
end of year
the
tours, Hong Kong, bloody America, you play the game there, so it's a neutral venue. Because the origin goes bloody weird, isn't it?
You know, we know that one-off test matches now probably got a shelf life, and series are where it's at. How many S's in that? And apostrophes. But so British and Irish Lions, 3-test series. England came out here 2 years ago, 3-test series. Ireland came out 3-test. That engages community a lot better.
100%.
There's some jeopardy. There's some uncertainty of result. And you know, we talk about our sporting rivals, let's say NRL, right? Closest, biggest event for them is the Origin series.
Yeah.
So I reckon our next biggest cab off the rank is Bledisloe series, 3 tests, Bledisloe series, and we capture 2 huge cross-border markets.
Can you imagine if the State of Origin said we're only going to do a 2-match series?
Right, be blood on the street.
Yeah,
wouldn't make any sense.
No.
Yeah, well, I mean, it just commercially we need to think about, you know, sometimes things that are traditionally had worked will work again, you know, and this push to find new content doesn't necessarily need to be boutique events. We could revisit traditional, because nostalgia definitely clouds fact in our sport. We don't let our people be as nostalgic as they should be about the history of the game and what was successful in attracting eyeballs.
Well, I think Marshy said it perfectly too, like having a home and away and then a neutral ground. And that's what the State of Origin do now. Like they have one neutral and then they have like a, obviously in New Zealand. Mate, are you an English professor or something, mate? Like,
no,
look at you.
I don't know.
Mate, I've heard
didn't
you
know
like,
we were doing a podcast in Spanish.
Mate, let's go to 03. Let's go to 03 when you lost the World Cup final, when you missed Dawson. So run us through that. I got him.
Well, I'll default to Marshy's position is blame someone else, and I'll blame Stephen Larkin because he's behind me saying Wilkinson's getting ready for the field goal. So I'm like, I'm getting him, and so I'm Linford Christie off the line, thinking I'm Linford Christie anyway. And 1, 2, 3, Dawson's still got the ball, and so I'm back. I'm Turnstile Peterson. He goes past my weak left shoulder, which is I didn't really have a strong shoulder, but it's even less of a no-go zone. Gets through, runs,
30, 40, I think. 30.
Not that many, 21, 22 probably. I've measured it several times.
Steps it out.
My nightmares. And Georgie Smith gets all over him, and then Johnson carries one more time to set up a sweet little angle. And then, old mate hits a wobbegong on the right foot. And the photo's deceptive. You can actually see me in the photo shot and you think, geez, maybe if I had to just run a bit quicker or faster or tried a bit more. But at the time, you spent vessel. You're done. So, they were just a good side that
They were a good side.
got into the bet. Yeah, I mean,
They were the best team.
Beat New Zealand.
They beat us.
That year.
They beat us that year in
They
New
were
Zealand,
good.
and at one stage they only had 13 men on the field. And they were just
Handy.
I wouldn't necessarily say extremely well coached, but Clive had the right mix of players with awesome
Timing,
experience.
right? Sweet
and
spot of
then you
test
have-
caps, seniority.
And then someone like Johnny Wilkinson who
Biggest
kick-
forward
kick
pack.
goals from everywhere, big forward pack.
Massive forward pack.
England team's probably got me to thank as well because the British and Irish Lions series 2 years earlier, I taught them about playing the fullest minute of the game. Right? Getting prepared. So I'm
Don't
probably-
get picked off
I
in the
know.
80th minute, champ.
I
'cause
probably should be photoshopped into the World Cup photo.
No, that's it. But actually, we almost didn't get there, right? Like, what about the the camp that we had in the
Darwin.
in Darwin?
Where the
we went fishing.
boat nearly capsized.
Yes.
Wendell
what is
Saylor
it with
lodged
World Cups where coaches
Arnhem
feel
Land,
that they
yeah.
need to take you
to a hurt locker.
to some weird experience like
The Springboks.
you've heard the stuff about the Springboks, what they were up to, and it's just like next
That
level
was a bit-
stuff. But
yeah. I think the investigation's still ongoing. but-
bordering on the line of insanity. But
What happened with the capsized boat? Like, obviously a boat capsized, but what was
Well,
the
we're in
situation?
we're in the middle of Arnhem Land. We'd had 3 or 4 days of hurt locker in Darwin training, and there was madness, method to the madness. Connecting with what is this thing called representing Australia, and rural Australia and outback Australia is a huge part of it, and many of us don't have an acknowledgement or an exposure to that sort of connection and understanding of that. So we went out to Arnhem Land National Reserve, it's on the edge of Kakadu. So we went on a boat tour, crocodile and croc-infested waters up there, clearly.
Oh, now we're talking.
Thousands.
Really?
And so
Literally infested.
Oh yeah. Well, it's illegal to hunt crocs up there. They're protected species, so there's a lot. And so, getting on the boat, and they're dinghies. They're like 9-foot dinghies. So it's not a boat; it's a floating Coke can, basically, with an engine on the end of it and a canopy. And Wendell Saylor, Lottie Takiri, they sort of lean over and looking at this croc, and one of them sort of flicks its tail. And so they all go, ugh, and rush to the other side of the boat.
no.
And so the boat is like vertical, just about to fall, just about to capsize and tip everyone in.
No.
And there's a couple of 9-foot crocs just thinking, no problem. Did you bring the salt and pepper? We've got some humans here.
The cameraman.
Very close.
The cameraman was on the boat I was at.
There's
we were
footage of
watching.
this.
Mate, so he just turned the camera, and there's a croc's head that when it comes off the bank, hits the dinghy and goes into the water rather than into the boat.
Yeah.
Like almost went into the boat.
Because once the violent movement happened, every other croc fires up and thinks we're on here. And so everyone's looking for
It was crazy.
looking for food.
It was one of the great because we overloaded these boats as well. It only took,
Yeah, it was-
it meant to take like
Mate,
12, 15 people.
Full World Cup
We
squad
had
in a
22
9-foot
people in the boat, mate. Like it was
with a
just
9 horsepower Evinrude on the back, and old
Arms
mate
are sweating.
with his stubbies and the truckie singlet and the bunger hanging out the side, going, "Look out for the crocodile."
You know what the
pretty cool.
irony in the story is? These things are supposed to be about team
team
building and
Oh,
how
mate.
you look after each other and support your mates and make
Oh,
sure
it
when
was-
you get into trouble, everybody
lot of-
galvanizes. And it's like you're thinking about, right,
I'm saying-
individual, how do I escape out of this? And make sure that they get them first before they get me.
Worst
Who's,
over here.
who's the weakest link? Okay, the two blokes that can't swim. And they're actually quite a good size too. Lottie and Wendell aren't small, so the Crocs will be occupied for a bit. I'm swimming.
yeah.
See you later, boys.
Oh man, yeah, it was,
Yeah.
mate. And then after the World Cup finished up, I think you went to the Waratahs, right? And then,
Well, just before that,
Before that.
because when the World Cup finished and you guys got second, Muhammad Ali over here.
oh yes,
I should have brought that in. Yeah, that was interesting. I was, look, we make decisions sometimes that at the time think are a good choice. In hindsight, that one was probably not my best. But and it's interesting. The English team got a lot of flack for not whacking their medals on when they lost
Oh, yeah.
recently.
2019.
19.
Mm.
And I thought that was a bit over the top because, for me, that's the first recognition of losing, right? You get a sort of second prize in a World Cup. I'm not big on medals for anything other than first when you're in tournaments like that. Olympics is different, I get it. But World Cups. So I was a bit filthy and didn't really want to put it on, and it felt heavy. It just looked horrible. It's just thinking and it doesn't, by the way. It's a beautiful medal, but at the time I'm thinking that is just an albatross around my neck. I'm not happy to have it on across the albatross. You're welcome. There's a poetry reference.
Yeah,
there.
I can't find
Rhyme
mine.
of the Ancient Mariner, in case you're wondering. And so we rock up that night, and I probably had a few beers by then. So I'm either thinking I'm thinking clearly, I'm not thinking clearly. You take the pick. When I'm on the beers, I normally think that every decision is the right one. Clearly, this one might not have been. So I'm standing at the water's edge, King Street Wharf, about to go into the cargo bar, which is the mosh pit of human flesh at the time that we frequented. And I thought, right. And in the back of my mind, and look, absolutely politically and context, it's by no means in comparison to the Muhammad Ali moment when he couldn't get served at Mississippi and threw his gold medal into the Missouri River or Mississippi River. I thought, right, this is it. I'm going to do it. And actually, Tony Goodwin, Moggy Goodwin, the gold rat, used to
there he
always
is.
go, "Mama, that's not worthy," and make this big action of throwing stuff into the. I thought, right, I'm doing it. I'm a rat. I don't deserve a silver medal. That's the silver medal. I'm better than that. Throw it into the drink. Probably should have thrown myself in there as well. But,
No!
I'm like, okay. What are we drinking? And then,
What are we having for
That was good.
breakfast?
No one was, and the thing, like, no one was there. Like, I didn't even, I didn't even put a show on it so I sort of went up there, didn't really tell anyone about it, and then drip fed it over the next couple of days. Few people remembered, and through the haze of drinking to forget, which you do when you've lost a World Cup. And then, as a father now of two young boys who's trying, who's terrified, I don't know what I'm doing as a father. I had everything else you sort of know. There's no rules to parenthood. And then truth, honesty, integrity, just, take defeat with honour, and those sorts of things are big motherhood statements, but they're lived statements as well. And so when both our boys, Jack and Hugo, were asking me about, this World Cup thing, and, you're standing there, and, you're crying, Papa, and I'm like, yeah, and it was really, and, you've got a medal in your hand there. And I was like, where's that? And it's in Darling Harbour. Why? Because your dad was full as a boot and he threw it into the drink because he couldn't cope with losing. That's not a great end to the story with, listen, boys, always take defeat as you do victory. So fast forward, Judge Jeff Blackett, who's the chief disciplinary officer of the RFU at the time. I'd met him a couple of times when I was playing in England, when I was suited and booted and explaining a few of my actions, and we got to know each other reasonably well. And,
Just a couple of times.
first name basis.
Not you again.
He'd just ring me before the hearing sometimes and just say, mate, don't bother, 8 weeks.
Just sit in your usual seat, mate.
And we actually developed a bit of a, who knows, might have been a bit of Stockholm syndrome, but he's, I gravitated towards him. We had a few encounters that made us reveal a fair bit of ourselves to each other. And he came to France to visit one time when I was living in south of France. We had a few wines, and I told him about the story, the World Cup and England, and it was a big regret. And I've got these 2 humans now. And he banked, that was about 8 years ago. And he banked that. And then during the England series over here, I went to a show at the Cargo Bar thinking we were doing a bit of a podcast. And then halfway through the thing, Judge Jeff Blackett comes out of the woodwork with a medal that had been recast by World Rugby and Bill Beaumont, and for a silver medal. I was like, mate, this is insane. So it was
awesome.
Good.
Yeah, great end, man.
I just thought, firstly, this is crazy that I should be given this much attention and compassion, but also then I thought, you know what, this is a perfect example of what it is to be a part of the rugby.
That's rugby, absolutely. That's the first thing I thought. Yeah.
Other sports do it well. That's fine. This is not about bragging rights and who's the better sport and more empathetic, but that absolutely is about, chief disciplinary officer, current English sitting president, England World Cup winners, has the time and space and forethought, and then contacts Bill Beaumont. At the time, Hamish McLennan was integral in it as well, and they find the cast of the medal, because it's no longer. They find the people who produced it and recast a brand spanking new medal at their cost, which is, it's just.
Have they still got the mould? Have they still got it?
Have you lost yours too? You don't know where it is. Yeah, well, I'll let you come over and touch mine. Flashback.
Lads, it's a pretty exciting time for Australian rugby, though. Like, you've got the Lions coming up next year, then the World Cup.
And the Women's World Cup too.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Massive rugby here in Australia.
Yeah, like there's the horoscope of events is appetising. We, Grand Slam tour at the end of the year. British and Irish Lions, absolutely. That's the juggernaut of commerciality that international rugby is. But it's also an extreme examination of a health check on your performance capacity as an environment and a pathway. You'll need a squad of plus 30 players to get through that series, not just to play, but to provide stern opposition at training and make sure that everything's done well. Provincial rugby's going to have to step up and poke a few holes in this British and Irish Lions squad and find a way to develop a game and a style that's going to beat them. We know the game has moved into a power-based game, and it's desperately trying to now find a marry between fan-centric engagement through type of game, but also what is your competitive advantage when it actually hits the dirt, and what style of game is going to work for you according to your pathway, your talent, your athletes. Joe Schmidt's starting to understand that as well. You can have lots of thoughts about how you want to play. When you look at who you got and what your capacity is, that's the skill of designing what's going to marry for Australia. And we can't just say golden decade, it's going to look after itself. You need to perform well. Because when you talk about golden decade previously, it was all retrospective and it was performance. It was because it's called a golden decade because there are a lot of trophies won, a lot of games won, finishing off with the British and Irish Lions. You're welcome. And so, now it's you can't read the tea leaves before they're there, right? We've got to perform well. Australian rugby and Southern Hemisphere rugby is at a real crossroads.
And that's the thing, right? With Northern Hemisphere, like you ended up finishing your career in England and playing over there.
First time, yeah.
Yeah. And well, actually in Ireland too, right?
I did. Northern Ireland, Belfast, which is, Northern Ireland's a great experience, although it's probably the only place in the world where you'll start a game and finish it with trench foot. It's that wet up there. I think trench foot. So rain comes up at you, like it rains up from the ground. It's insane. But the people, again, rugby family. So 3 years over there, the hardest, toughest Friday night Marshy, you were Ospreys.
Yes, been there.
He'd come to Ravenhill.
I was going to say that.
Champ.
Came to Ravenhill.
You know,
Yeah.
Marshy.
Hard to forget.
And I remember Mark McCall was the coach of Ulster, and they came to me and said, "Oh, yeah, Justin Marshall's playing. What do you reckon?" I said, "Look, I know that he's going to hate the weather conditions here, even though he's a Kiwi. This is next level wet and mud. Just anyone who gets your hands on him, make sure you finish the tackle, get him on the ground, keep him on the ground." And mate, it was one of the most enjoyable games I've played. Hearing Marshy just going, "Get off me, get off me. I've not even got the ball, champ." It's just the whole time.
It picked on me. You know?
It picked
on me.
I was like, this is not fair. At half time, I was like, the coach, they were picking on me out there, you know, put my face in the mud and
you know that. So we played Llanelli one, and so Moriarty, the number 8 that played for Wales recently, his old man was the forwards coach at Llanelli, and I, you know, a bit verbal up there, more verbal probably than I'm down here because I got schooled by people down here, but up there you had a bit more leeway and you had a bit more of a chance, and so I'm into the game with the Llanelli boys and their kids, and I'm sort of having a bit of fun. And half time we're running off, and I feel this gush of wind. And I'm thinking, what? And then again, this is a bloke's fist. And so someone from the crowd is trying to knuckle me on the way into the change rooms. And I'll work out that it's Moriarty, the forwards coach. He's leave them alone, trying to knuckle me on the way to the change room at half time. The coach is in there. It's like, righto, champ. Get on the field, mate.
I can just imagine there's a queue in the car park
Oh,
for you when you're
well,
waiting for you to get on the bus.
There was.
Where is he? Where is he?
I took it, you know, notoriety and popularity, you know.
When I think about you, like always an aggressive player. I remember watching on TV, seeing you get into a decent dust up in a Waratahs game, like one of the best.
Oh, that was
Not that we're
Filipo
condoning
Levi.
violence
Yeah.
here, but this was the good old days when you could settle a score if the score needed to be settled.
Yeah,
Captain Waratah, here he is.
Solid. Yeah, and so kick off. Now I'm in the hearing. Your Honour. Well, there I was.
Funny enough.
And I felt threatened. 18 punches. And 4 knees. I was safe. So kick off. Ruck. Filipo Levi comes in for a clean out and then kicks out at me. Kick.
On the ground.
Shin kicks me. Yeah, he's on the ground. So I'm like, oh. So, and then he gets up and starts to run away, like, and I'm losing the foot race, clearly. So I'm like, right, I've got to get him here. So I grab him, into him, a few F-bombs, and then, and I'm thinking, okay, this is going to be just a push and shove, because on the field, like, you're pretty safe, right? You can sort of start a fight just until it turns into a real fight, and then usually people come in and stop, or the ref grabs you or something. This particular occasion, everyone just sort of stands back and watches us go. And so I'm doing the rabbit punch with the jersey. You know, you grab the jersey.
Mouth guard in, obviously.
Push back, mouth guard in, watches in the change room. I'm safe, right? All bets are off. Ding, ding. And so I've grabbed his thing and I'm doing the jersey punches.
Oh, yeah.
So, and then I think, oh, no one's coming, and he's got red mist now. And so then just heaps of knuckles start coming at me, and I tuck, and tuck the nose and chin because there's a lot to tuck there. He's got a big target zone, and he throws, I reckon, 15 punches, trying to get away in, and he gets a couple in. I think, righto, no one has broken this up still. I'm going to have to throw a proper ding-dong bunch here. So then I'm back into it, find a bit of range, end up getting one on him. Then we fall down. We get up, and so Anton Oliver's still captain, I think, there. We're on the field with the captains. Refs goes, right, Filipo Levi, you kicked out with your foot, red card, sent. I'm there. I get yellow carded for throwing a punch. So Levy's off. I'm back on the field. Game goes on. We end up losing the game. Berkey hits the post to miss a penalty on full time to lose.
Mash.
And I'm standing thinking, oh, we've lost. And I get my spine put through my chin from behind. Someone shoved me. And I turn around. There's someone in a suit running off to the sideline. So I know it's Filipo Levi, right? But statute of limitations. I can't get recharged for this. But, so I chase after him, grab him, and we're into it again on the sideline. So there's a bloke in a suit. I'm still kitted. There's kids, chips flying everywhere. It's row one. Security guard. Like, oh, mate, Kmart security who's doing the job for the day is like, what's going on here? Players are like, Berkey's crying, he's missed. I'm continuing on with this stink. 35,000 people. And so then we get pulled apart. And then I get charged with bringing the game into disrepute. Old mate's come from row 6 in his suit. Comes down
to settle the score.
And so then I'm thinking, right, we've got a bit of a problem here because there's 2 times now I've been a stink with the same bloke. And so we get up to the judiciary the next day, and the judge says to me, Mr. Harrison, can you explain your actions here? And I said, well, look, I didn't know who it was. I just saw a suit. I felt a shove behind. I was concerned for my teammates. I thought it was a pitch invader. And, I was just acting in self-defense, Your Honour. So I got off with a warning.
All right, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much for coming on the show. We'll wrap it up before Justin Harrison incriminates himself anymore. Thank you very much for listening to this and following us on YouTube as well. Make sure you check us out on social media, and we'll be back again next week.